If you've hit your 60s, you've likely been told that arterial plaque is just an unavoidable part of aging, like gray hair or stiff joints. You've been told that once it's there, your best hope is to manage it with pills and pray it doesn't get worse. But what if I told you that recent breakthroughs in cardiology suggest that your arteries are much more resilient than you've been led to believe? We aren't just talking about slowing the buildup today. We are talking about the potential to actually start cleaning those vessels from the inside out. There is one specific, simple habit that researchers are now finding acts like a quiet broom for your circulatory system. It's not a fancy supplement, it's not an expensive procedure, and it doesn't require you to spend hours in a gym. It is something you can start doing in your own kitchen starting tomorrow morning. Now, I know what you're thinking. Doctor, I've heard this before. And you're right to be skeptical. The internet is full of miracle cures that end up being nothing more than clever marketing. But today we are going to look past the hype. We are going to look at the exact mechanisms that cause plaque to form, and more importantly, why this specific daily habit disrupts that process at a cellular level. If you stick with me, I'm going to show you the one common mistake most people over 60 make when trying to eat healthy that actually keeps their arteries clogged. I'll also share a specific piece of research that changed the way I look at heart health entirely. But first, we need to get clear on the truth about how these blockages actually happen. Because if you don't know the why, the what won't do you any good. Let's dive in. Before we get to that daily habit, I want to take a quick moment to ground ourselves. I've spent years in clinical practice, and if there is one thing I've learned, it's that heart health is not about perfection. It's about patterns. Many of the patients I see are exhausted by the all-or-nothing approach. They come to me having tried extreme diets, some cutting out every carb, others trying to live entirely on greens, only to find themselves burnt out and frustrated 6 months later. If a plan isn't sustainable for the next 20 years of your life, it isn't a medical solution, it's just a temporary hurdle. My goal, and the reason I'm sharing this with you today, is to help you build a routine that works with your life, not against it. We want high-yield habits, small, consistent actions that provide the biggest return on your health. Quick favor before we go deeper into the science. Drop your city, state, or country in the comments below. When I see where people are watching from, it helps me understand the different environments and lifestyles you're dealing with, which helps me better tailor the advice I share in these videos. I read every single one of those comments. Now stay with me, because what I'm about to show you is the exact reason why most people struggle to clear their arteries. And it isn't just about what you're eating, it's about what your body is actually doing under the surface. Most people assume plaque is just gunk piling up like a clogged drain. It's a helpful image, but it's dangerously incomplete. Plaque is actually a biological response to injury. Think of your artery walls like a hallway in your home. When that hallway wall is damaged, your body sends in a repair crew. If that repair crew is overworked, or if there is constant friction, the repairs become messy, bulky, and obstructive. That is the beginning of the buildup. To stop it, we don't just need to scrub the drain, we need to calm down the entire system. Imagine you're walking down a familiar street in your neighborhood. You walk past a house you've seen 1,000 times. Everything looks normal, right? But what if, behind that front door, there's a slow, silent struggle happening, a structural repair that's going wrong? That is exactly what happens inside your coronary arteries every single day. It begins with the endothelium. This is just a fancy term for that thin, slippery layer of cells that lines the inside of your vessels. Think of it as a Teflon coating, designed to keep everything sliding along smoothly so your blood can flow freely. But when we experience things like chronic high blood pressure, high blood sugar, or even persistent emotional stress, that Teflon coating gets tiny, microscopic scratches. Now, your body is incredibly proactive. It sees those scratches and thinks, we need to fix that immediately. So it sends out a distress signal. It deploys various repair particles, primarily LDL, the so-called bad cholesterol, to patch the hole. Normally, this would be a perfect, seamless repair, But here is where the problem starts for many of us over 60. If the environment inside your bloodstream is constantly inflamed, meaning there's too much oxidative stress, those LDL particles don't just sit there to patch the wall. They get oxidized. They change shape. They become sticky, almost like a piece of tape that's lost its backing and is now grabbing onto everything in sight. Suddenly, your immune system's cleanup crew, the white blood cells, detect these oxidized particles and rush in to eat them up. But these white blood cells aren't equipped to handle this type of sticky damage in such high volumes. They gorge themselves on these particles until they become foam cells. And when those foam cells die, they don't just leave the area, they pile up. That bump, that little mountain of trapped debris and immune cells, that is your plaque. It's not just fat that arrived there by accident. It is a biological monument to an ongoing, unresolved repair job. And the reason this is so important for you to understand is that it completely changes the goal. We aren't just trying to lower cholesterol. We are trying to stop the oxidative stress that makes those particles sticky, and we are trying to heal the environment so your immune system can finally stand down. So, how do we stop this cycle? We need to provide the body with tools that specifically target these mechanisms, reducing oxidation, improving the integrity of that Teflon lining, and cooling down that hyperactive immune response. The single most effective habit I recommend for my patients over 60 is what I call the high-yield morning bowl. It is not a miracle cure, but it is a consistent daily intervention that floods your system with the specific phytonutrients required to stabilize your blood vessels. The foundation of this habit is based on something called flavonoids. These are potent, natural compounds found in deep-colored fruits and vegetables. When you consume them, they work systematically to decrease the stickiness of your arterial walls. By reducing something called adhesion molecule expression, they literally make it harder for those damaged LDL particles to latch onto your artery walls in the first place. Here is how you assemble this. I want you to start your day with a half cup of dark berries, blueberries, blackberries, or raspberries. These are absolute powerhouses for your endothelium. They aren't just food, they are high-dose antioxidants that neutralize the very oxidative stress that turns your LDL particles into those sticky foam cells we talked about earlier. But berries alone aren't enough. We need to pair them with what I call biological stabilizers. Add a small handful of walnuts or raw ground flax seeds to those berries. Why? Because they are rich in plant-based sterols. These compounds look almost identical to the cholesterol molecules your body is trying to manage. When you eat them, they compete for space in your gut, effectively telling your liver to stop overproducing its own cholesterol. This creates a cascade effect that lowers the amount of LDL circulating in your bloodstream throughout the day. I've had patients tell me they find this too simple to be effective. But that's the beauty of it. It's not about changing your entire life overnight. It's about ensuring that every single morning you are introducing these specific artery protective agents into your system before you consume anything else. By combining the berries for their antioxidant, vessel lining protection, and the seeds or nuts for their ability to manage cholesterol levels naturally, you are tackling two of the most critical steps in the plaque-forming process simultaneously. It's an elegant, low-effort way to start your day with a clear, strategic advantage. It takes 2 minutes to prepare, but it provides benefits that last for the next 24 hours. I need to pause for a second, because we need to address the elephant in the room. Most people watching this will agree that berries and walnuts sound like a healthy choice. You've likely heard it a dozen times before. And yet, if you look at the health statistics for our demographic, we are still seeing record rates of heart issues. Why? It's because of a trap I see even the most well-intentioned people fall into. It's what I call the halo effect of healthy eating. We convince ourselves that if we eat that heart-healthy bowl of berries in the morning, we have a get-out-of-jail-free card for the rest of the day. You see this everywhere. People eating heart-healthy cereals, granola bars, or those yogurt parfaits that are essentially sugar bombs in disguise. We focus so much on the addition, adding the good stuff, that we completely ignore the subtraction, the constant daily intake of inflammatory foods that are actively undoing the work your morning bowl is trying to do. This is where most people fail. They try to outrun a poor diet with a few superfoods. But biology doesn't work like a bank account where you can balance a credit against a debit. Inflammation isn't a neutral state. When you consume high-sugar pastries, refined grains, or those sneaky, healthy snack bars, you are pouring fuel on the fire of oxidative stress. You are effectively scratching the inside of your blood vessels faster than those berries can patch them. You have to realize that true heart health isn't about being perfect. It's about stopping the active damage. If you don't address the high glycemic foods that are spiking your blood sugar and driving inflammation every afternoon, the work you did with that morning bowl of berries is essentially neutralized. Don't let the simplicity of the solution fool you into thinking the problem is easy to ignore. The battle for your arteries is happening every time you eat. Let's look at how to identify those masquerading foods that are likely sabotaging your progress right now. We need to talk about the health halo. I see this every single week in my clinic. A patient tells me, "Doctor, I'm doing everything right. I'm eating my oatmeal, I'm having my morning smoothie, I'm avoiding the steak." But then we look at the labels of what they are actually consuming throughout the day. What we find are foods that are aggressively marketed to seniors as heart healthy, but are functionally the opposite. The biggest offender? Those convenient breakfast bars or granola squares. Take a close look at the ingredient label. Most of them are held together by high fructose corn syrup, honey, or agave. While these sound natural, they are concentrated sugars that cause a rapid spike in your blood glucose. That spike, repeated multiple times a day, is exactly what triggers the inflammation that makes your arterial walls sticky. Then there's the issue of juices. I know for many of you, a glass of orange or apple juice feels like a cornerstone of a good, nutritious breakfast. But when you strip away the fiber, you are left with liquid sugar. Without that protective fiber, which you'd get from eating the whole fruit, your body absorbs that fructose almost instantly. This puts an immense burden on your liver, which then ramps up its production of VLDL particles, eventually circulating as more of that bad LDL cholesterol. Another sneaky trap? Flavored yogurts. You see low fat or probiotic on the front, and it feels like a win. But turn it around. Often those individual cups contain 15 to 20 grams of added sugar. That is more than a dessert. You are trying to heal your arteries, but you're essentially feeding the very inflammation you're trying to starve. My advice is simple, but it requires a change in your shopping habits. Go for plain, full-fat yogurt and add your own fresh berries. Buy the whole fruit instead of the juice. And if you're looking at a packaged snack, if you can't pronounce the ingredients, or if the first 3 items on the list include a type of syrup, put it back. This isn't about restriction. It's about choosing foods that actually serve your body's long-term goals. You have worked hard your whole life. Don't let clever marketing labels dictate the health of your heart in your later years. Now, I understand that it is easy to be skeptical of diet advice, but I want to show you the evidence behind why this shift toward whole food nutrition is not just opinion. It is grounded in some of the most rigorous studies in cardiology. There is a powerful study published in The Lancet that looked at the impact of long-term Mediterranean-style eating patterns on cardiovascular events. The researchers followed thousands of participants, and the findings were striking. Those who consistently prioritized healthy fats, like extra virgin olive oil, and high-fiber, antioxidant-rich whole foods, the exact high-yield foods we've been discussing, showed a significant reduction in major heart events compared to those on standard low-fat diets. But the science goes even deeper. We have evidence from the multi-ethnic study of atherosclerosis, or MESA, which is one of the longest-running, most detailed looks at how plaque progresses over time. One of the key findings from this research was the role of omega-3 fatty acids. Participants with higher levels of DHA, the primary omega-3 found in fatty fish like salmon and mackerel, showed a lower risk of carotid plaque progression. Think about that. This isn't just about feeling better. This is about objective, measurable changes in the structure of your arteries. These omega-3s act as natural anti-inflammatories, calming the immune response that makes plaques unstable. When you combine the antioxidant power of berries with the vascular stabilizing properties of omega-3s, you are creating a biological environment where your body can finally prioritize healing over damage control. When you look at this data, the path forward becomes clear. It is not about a miracle supplement that you take once a week. It is about the consistency of these nutrients entering your system every single day. This is how we move from simply managing disease to actively creating a healthier environment for our heart and blood vessels to thrive, even well into our 70s and 80s. We've talked extensively about the what and the why of your nutrition, but there are two other levers you can pull to accelerate your heart health that have nothing to do with food. First, let's talk about heat. Sauna therapy has moved from a luxury spa activity to a legitimate area of interest in cardiovascular research. There is fascinating observational data, particularly from Finnish studies, showing that regular sauna use is associated with improved endothelial function. Essentially, the repeated exposure to heat helps your blood vessels expand and contract more efficiently, which keeps them elastic and helps lower systemic blood pressure. It acts as a passive, low-impact exercise for your cardiovascular system. If you have access to a local gym or facility with a sauna, incorporating it 2 or 3 times a week is a fantastic, non-pharmaceutical way to support your heart. Second, we cannot overlook the foundation of all healing: sleep. I know you've heard this for years, but here is the specific reason it matters for your arteries. Deep, restorative sleep is the only time your body's glymphatic system and systemic cleanup crew can truly go to work. If you are sleep-deprived, your body produces higher levels of cortisol. That stress hormone is a direct driver of insulin resistance and, you guessed it, arterial inflammation. If you aren't getting 7 hours of quality sleep, your body is effectively stuck in a state of high alert, making it nearly impossible to stop the cycle of arterial damage. We've covered a lot today, but I want you to remember that your heart health is a long game. It isn't defined by a single meal, a single slip-up, or a single test result. It is defined by the steady, consistent choices you make every single day. By starting your morning with that high-yield bowl of berries and seeds, you're giving your body the specific fuel it needs to protect your arteries and lower inflammation. By weeding out the health halo traps, the sugary bars, the juices, and the processed snacks, you're finally stopping the damage at its source. And by incorporating simple boosters like movement, heat therapy, and deep restorative sleep, you are building a lifestyle that supports your heart's longevity for years to come. You don't need a miracle. You have the power to influence your own biology right now. If you found this information helpful, please share this video with a friend or family member who might need to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel, where we continue to explore the simple, science-backed habits that keep you feeling your best. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.